Okay, we're going to start with The Nation. PDP crisis, are you hits Wike or Tom Makinde and Ikpeazu? Aviation fuel price hike may affect our operations, CS Amal warns. 2035 fossil fuels deadline will hurt economy, says MAN. Investors maintain 4.5 trillion naira gains for 8 months. Akeredolu accuses federal government of bias in Tompolo's pipeline contract. EFCC probing Zamfara governor for alleged money laundering. And Lagos Okada ban phase 2 enforcement kicks off. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Okay, so let me start with the aviation fuel hike. And the chief of air staff, Air Marshal Isiaka Oludayo Amao, was talking about the cost of Jet A1, that's the aviation fuel, and how it's affecting their job, in securing and, flying their aircrafts. He took an inventory of all the aircrafts that they have. He said they have about 12 A29 Tucano. They have Super Tucano aircrafts that were bought. They have 39 new aircrafts in total. They have, he talked about how they're also buying at 950 naira per liter. And the budget for aviation fuel for them is 360 naira per liter. The difference is just too wide. And so he says, of course, the implication, he was given a paper titled The Management of Emerging Air Threats, and the implication of strengthening governance in Nigeria. And he talked about how these old issues that we thought was affecting only the people that are flying is affecting security as well, because they didn't have to carry out surveillance around certain areas using these jets, and the budget for it is just outrageously low compared to what the reality is. I hope that the policymakers are reading this and, they do the needful.
Okay, so I have the EFCC is investigating the governor of Zamfara State, Governor Bello Mohammed Matawale, over alleged money laundering. The EFCC said it got intelligence that claimed and alleges that the governor has used a particular company to buy a property in Abuja. The details of the place is written here. So it says plot 729, Cadastral Zone C16, Idu Industrial Estate in Abuja, and it was worth 1.2. I had to count the zeros again. 6 zeros is what?
6 zeros
is a million. Nine zeros here. So here are 9 zeros, and it's so like 1.2 billion is what this property cost. And they say from investigation, it looked like he was using state funds for this purchase. The reason, also they're in court because the EFCC had gone ahead to try and close the place down, and the company that's claiming to be the owner and not affiliated, and claiming is not affiliated to the governor, is called Faisal Company, and this company say that they acquired the land and they gave it out to another company called Beisha Printing Press. But EFCC claims that given the intelligence that they have, that all this can be traced back to the governor of Zamfara State. They said that one of the staff members that they had questioned, who first denied any affiliation to the governor, when they went through her phone, they saw that she actually works with the governor. Right. They are in court. The court says that EFCC is wrong in the procedure and the way that it went and locked down the place, that there are ways to do it. They would have gone to court first, and it was a... And so, yes, so that you should have obtained a court order before doing that. So we'll hear how this goes. And EFCC should, try less to make mistakes. Yes.
All right, go ahead.
So I have Lagos Okada ban, phase 2 enforcement kicks off. My concern, I like the concept of the Okada ban because especially here, I see that the decision, and position of government on Okada ban is very clear, and we're not compromising on this decision, which is to further consolidate on the achievement made so far with particular reference to decrease in accidents and crime. Decrease in accidents, yes, but crime, I don't really agree because we are displacing these people of their means of livelihood. What are we doing to replace what they have? Because invariably, we are actually increasing crime because these guys are just going into streets, going into neighborhoods and causing more harm. So, yes, accidents, I agree, but, the crime rate, I don't agree.
All right. Let's move. I was going to take the major headline. I've been following the PDP crisis. So there's an update because the chairman, Dr. Yocha Ayu, has finally spoken up. And when he spoke, trust me, things got kind of escalated the crisis because he was saying that all these children, where were you when I was in government, when PDP was being formed. Where were you? And he didn't mention anybody's name, but the reporter was able to deduce that he was chairman of he was actually a minister in the cabinet of the ex-president Segun Obasanjo. And during that time, Wike was chairman of the local government in Rivers State. Also, even before then, in 1992 to 1993, when Wike was a law student, Dr. Ayu had actually served as Senate president. So when Dr. Ayu is talking, people like Wike, they are children. That's what he was saying.
Also means he stayed too long.
Well, that's another angle. You know. Anyways, another angle is that Atiku's victory doesn't affect the chairman's position. He won his election based on the party's constitution, and he did not commit any offense. According to him, he's there to reform the party, and that all this noise is not what is going to concern, and he refused to step down because he was constitutionally elected by the party. Of course, lots of people have come together. So we have Governor Mimiko, former Governor Mimiko, the current governor of Oyo State, all trying to have there's a committee being set up to try to reconcile both ends. But it is as if they don't want to agree on this matter. Let's move on quickly now to the Punch 2023 polls. APC presidential aspirants shun Abuja meeting. Kukah at 70, Nigeria derailing needs right leaders, says Jonathan. EFCC arrests 13 illegal miners, impounds 5 trucks. Nigeria records over 1.7 million rights violations, children worst hit. 32 states fail to attract investment in Q2. Strike, ASU welcomes governor's intervention, wants sincerity. Name terrorism sponsors all thieves, Obi tells federal government. And I won't allow anyone to destabilize PDP, says IU. Okay, which story are we starting with?
I'll take the picture story. That is the 70th birthday of Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Kukah, in Abuja. So the event also had a theme, and the theme is Nigeria's unfinished growth, next steps. And there were lots of dignitaries that were there. One time, our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, was there, and he also made a speech. And basically, he was just saying that, you know, our democracy is something that we should hold on tightly to. What we have achieved so far, even though the progress may seem slow, but at least we're progressing. But that there are signs that shows that if we're not careful, we're heading towards fascism. I don't get it because I know what fascism is, and I don't know those signs that he's talking about. You know, that's totalitarianism, authoritarianism. I don't see that as of now, but he says he's seen some of those signs, so we should be careful. And then mention the fact that the general elections are coming up. We should be careful the sort of leaders that we vote in. Okay. So the governor, which I thought this was interesting, the governor of Sokoto State also mentioned that because Bishop Kukah's criticisms are seen as controversial, but it's because he really wants the best for our country, and he knows that we can have a new Nigeria. So,
I like that in attendance are, aspirants, vying for
some of the aspirants.
Yes.
Okay, let's take another story. You have a story, Mujibari?
So I'll take the Nigeria records over 1.7 million rights violation, and children were the most hit. I'm just like, how did we get here? And the spikes. Especially, when you hear of social media and people reporting cases, we're not going to be quiet. But how did we get here? Like, what's going on? Sexual and gender-based violence. What are we doing? So they're reporting these figures. Well, how are they tackling it? I mean, it's not enough to just come out and say, oh, okay, this is happening. But how are we tackling these things, and what are we going to do going forward? We have this report now. What is the commission doing to actually say, okay, you know what? These are the cases where we're investigating this, and we're going to punish offenders. We're not getting those reports, so it keeps going up.
Okay,
so I have the EFCC story. So the EFCC arrested, and they've confirmed it, 13 illegal miners. They said, the spokesperson for the EFCC Kwara State said that they were arrested in the Kakafu village in Patigi local government area of the state, and they were arrested over non-payment of royalties to the federal government. So they are either illegal or they are not defaulting in payments. It's one of the two. Okay. But the thing don't confuse. So they said that they worked in collaboration with other agencies and that that led to the arrest.
Okay, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So I was going to take the front, the major headline, and Punch says 2023 poll, APC presidential aspirants shun Abuja meeting. So what happened was that the youngest aspirants amongst them, Dr. Nicholas Felix, had actually tried to get all the former APC aspirants together to come to Abuja yesterday for a meeting. Now, we had read that paper sometime last week. I think we expected that the meeting would hold. But unfortunately, many of them didn't show up. One of the chieftains, however, spoke confidentially to Point, saying that they can't be converging because, I mean, Felix, first of all, Dr. Felix didn't have the authority to call for the meeting, first of all. Then secondly, that the current aspirant doesn't, it seems as if the current aspirant doesn't need them anyway for the poll. So he's not taking it seriously, and the body language of all the various aspirants is as if they don't really, there's no need to come together. So everybody just went out. One says, I'm going to the US. The only female said her mother is sick, she couldn't attend. Nobody really gave their commitment to that meeting. It would have been a good meeting to see all the former aspirants together in one place. But I
also heard some quarters saying they were not even aware of the meeting.
Well, that's what yes, you're right. Some others said they didn't went out. But most of them, according to Dr. Felix, had told everybody for that meeting. Moving on now to Vanguard. PDP IU blows hot, says calls on him to quit is childish. Let's find a story. Access Bank leading sustainable banking in Nigeria. In US, PLB vows to increase electricity or leave presidency. Flight suspension. Emirates makes U-turn, resumes operations in Nigeria. That's good news for many people. APC presidential aspirants meeting cancelled for lack of interest. Nance to state varsity resume work. Your decision to join strike is unpatriotic. Akeredolu Okowa at daggers drawn over pipeline surveillance contracts. We don't abduct or terrorize citizens, says DSS, and refutes the Amnesty International's report. Okay.
So I'll start with that. I think that's a public service announcement. So the spokesperson for DSS, Dr. Peter Afunaya, in a statement says that the attention of the Department of the State Service, DSS, has been drawn to the false publication by an online newspaper, People's Gazette, where it had quoted Amnesty International, stating that the SSS in this present administration abduct Nigerians. And so the DSS they said they are outrightly denying this. They say it's all lies, and then calling on the media to do a better job, of fact-checking, and just be careful, to send false messages. And they are also giving these particular Gazette newspaper, online paper, a warning, People's Gazette, a warning, and saying that this is not the first or the second time that they've done this, and they should be careful going forward. I think it's important that they have come out to refute it, because sometimes we hear this story and everybody moves with it and we forget about it. But it's important that we make strong categorical statements, for this. So,
anybody have a story?
Okay. So I'll take the Access Bank story that says Access Bank leading sustainable banking operations. So according to the Deputy Managing Director, Chizoma Okoli, she said when she was speaking at the Sustainable Banking Roundtable organized by the bank, Central Bank of Nigeria, Financial Nigeria in Abuja yesterday. So creating a society where sustainable development lies at its core has become a priority for Access Bank, and I think that's very important. Yeah. She also said that we work with United Nations Environment Programme's Finance Institute and other leading banks as the only West African bank to develop the principles for responsible banking. For me, it's not just enough for Access Bank to do it. It's good to collaborate with other banks so that we carry everybody along. Exactly. So that's really great. So kudos to Access Bank.
Okay, so Governor Akeredolu of Ondo State, fixed. He says that the federal government is playing ostrich in the awarding of the pipeline surveillance contract to Governor Tumpolo. His first name is Governor. And he says that the same federal government that awarded the contract to secure and survey pipelines to Tumpolo, one individual, is against the establishment of security outfits by some states. And that, for me, is logic. If you think one state should not have their own security outfits, why would one individual be able to secure pipelines? It's just, it's clashing. But Governor Okowa of Delta State disagrees with him. He said his standard practice worldwide. There's nothing new there. He's supporting it. Whereas some groups are already, there are so many grievance groups. I saw a report done by another station where, you know, some militants, old militants groups are saying, this is our right, it's also our right, somebody should pay us. So now pipelines that go through Akwa Ibom State has a one group youth. No, that group saying Tompolo dares not come within their territory to secure pipeline. So you see, this thing is not really...
Everybody has woken up to the possibility, we too can get amnesty.
Going back to those days where each group wanted something. You know, they've been well fed. You know, the amnesty and all of that.
I was going to take the National Association of Nigerian Students. They faulted the decision to state universities on joining the strike, saying that it's quite unpatriotic of them and that it's wicked. Said that the state universities will immediately detach from their action and resume to work. This is their own perspective concerning the strike. They said that you've made your point, and ASU keeps, according to them, I think it's the spokesperson, the president, Sunday Asefom, said he had lost the support for the Nigerian students, that ASU had lost the support of the Nigerian students, given the unpatriotic disposition displayed by them extending the strike indefinitely. So that's the issue. We heard you. We know the strike is important, but the children have been home almost 200 days. And we're saying that, listen, it's time for you to reconvene and suspend this indefinite strike so that these kids can go back to school. I've been told not to call them kids again. These students can go back to school.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on quickly now to the Nigerian Tribune. Let's find a story. We've not taken the enforcement of okadas. We took that story already. Boko Haram planning to re-establish base in Adamawa's Fintiri. Autumn lied against Buhari on Fulani claims, says Presidency. Hoodlums pelt Kokonso with missiles in Kogi. Scarcity cost of aviation fuel may stall NAF operations, says Chief of Air Staff. CSO's kick against Buhari's nominees as INEC Rex. Proposed APC presidential aspirants meeting postponed. An ex-general threatened me and others with CIA, says Wiki. Okay, which story? Taken in Tribune?
Okay, let me take from Adamawa State. So the governor of Adamawa State, Amadou Fintiri, has said that Boko Haram is planning to regroup and form base in base for operations in some of their communities in Adamawa State. He especially mentioned Hong and Meha local government areas of the state. He said this while receiving the new brigade commander. There's been, you know, when one comes in and the other is leaving. And he also says that he says that the government is aware and they're going to do everything to make sure that that does not happen. So they have the intelligence and they're going to do everything to make sure that Boko Haram does not set up base in these communities or anywhere within their states. And they're proud and they're confident in the new brigade commander. He has experience, and from his antecedents, they believe that he will be able to do a good job in Adamawa State.
Okay, so I have the CSOs kicking. So about 70 CSOs, that's civil society organizations operating in Nigeria, have kicked against the nomination for INEC by the president. So the president had nominated, they have grievances against 3 people: Professor Muhammad Lawal Bashir, Dr. Ugochi, Pauline Onyeka, and Dr. Queen Elizabeth Agu. They said these 3 people have partisan background. So Dr. Bashir had openly run for governorship primaries in a state in Sokoto State in 2015, while Dr. Onyeka was a former staff of INEC who was redeployed on the grounds of partisanship while she was with INEC. And Dr. Agu is supposed to be another member of a political party presently. And so because of that partisan bias, they shouldn't be, because they will not be able to carry out their duties in an unbiased manner on the board of INEC as INEC Rex. So they're saying that the Senate Committee on INEC should reject these 3 candidates based on that.
Okay.
So I have hoodlums pelt Kwakwaso with missiles in Kogi. The presidential candidate of the new Nigerian party, NNP, Musa Rabiu Kwakwaso, was on Wednesday pelted with missiles during a visit to Kogi State.
Was missile again?
Good. I was waiting for it. I want to know.
So apparently he had gone to commission the party secretariat and his campaign offices besides Dave Mercy Pharmacy along Kogi Government House Road. And when he arrived in a motorcade with a few supporters, he was shouted down by some hoodlums. and efforts to pacify them didn't go down well. Now, one of his media aides, who identified himself as Musa Yunusa, described the action of his supporters as normal in politics, describing Kogi as home to his principal. That I'm just trying to juxtapose it's normal and it's home to him, but yet they're shouting him down.
Well, I just wanted to know when this.
Please, let me define missile. I just googled it.
Yes, because what I
in the military terminology, a missile is a guided airborne range weapon capable of self-propelled flight, usually by a jet engine or rocket motor. How in the world is that a missile?
Let us know. Did they
because
get
this
missiles?
is kind of words we use in our papers and our media, and just direct and redirect.
Who wrote the article?
I don't know.
When I saw it, I was
the person who wrote the article should be asked, what is that? Do you know what a missile is? Because these are the kind of things you see.
Weapon.
No, Nigerians, we got the sensationalism. We try to attract people, to draw people to your paper. You just try to use all the words and thinking, no, only missile and
because if you read further down, it says it was shouted down.
So, how is that a missile?
They didn't even say he was being thrown.
So I would have thought somebody had a rocket launcher somewhere and was not throwing it in the where he was. I'm thinking,
I'm like, wow, machine guns everywhere.
Hey, God bless him.
How is he still alive?
We have to wrap up. I was going to take a story.
Verbal missiles.
Sorry? Verbal missiles. They should have
categorically
with verbal missiles in
and they even said pelt. You know what it means to pelt? Throw at someone.
Let us go.
Very misleading,
not doing it again. Let's go down with the papers.
We're not doing it again.
We're finished. Let us go.
See what you call stream.
That is all we're going to take on the papers.